What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Lunch Table Sports Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over my way too early Lunch Table Sports college football top 25 teams. These are my guess at some of the top teams. Just before we jump into it, without further ado, let's hop into the first team. 25, I got the Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State definitely had a down year the last couple of years of what they're used to. They started off hot. They were in the top. They're one of the top teams in the country to start off. They got that big win against Auburn and Wisconsin to start off the year. They traveled at Iowa. They lost, and then ever since then, kind of went downhill from there. And they ended up not finishing ranked last season. But they do have Sean Clifford back for, I think, his sixth year. They got another five-star behind him, Drew Allar, so the future's looking bright at the quarterback position. Definitely the run game is where they struggle with the past couple of years. They got Kavion Lee. They got a five-star running back, Noah Singleton. Just want to check. Yeah. Oh, Nicholas Singleton. My bad. So they got Nick Singleton coming in, five-star running back, along with one of the top returning receivers in this upcoming draft, Parker Washington. I actually do like Keandre Lambert-Smith. He made some big plays down the stretch last season for Penn State. So their offense looks to be promising. All comes down to the run game. They definitely got some dudes there. They got one of the best corners in the country, Joey Porter Jr. They got some good, talented guys in the D-line who are vets like PJ Mustipher. They got Nick Tarburton. So just kind of looking over their depth chart. They definitely got some dudes on that team, and I think they can perform maybe higher than the 25th spot. But coming at 24 here, I got the Kentucky Wildcats. Mark Stoops has done an amazing job with this team so far. Chris Rodriguez, one of the top running backs in the country. Absolutely love the way he plays. Very powerful runner. A lot of people think Will Levis is going to take that next step as a quarterback. I'm not as high as Will Levis. I definitely think the potential is there, but it all comes down to how bad he wants it. I think this team's really talented. I think they showed last year their potential. I think this year they can finish within the top 25 again. Next up at 23, I got the Cincinnati Bearcats. Definitely one of the top storylines of college football last year. We saw how far they went, but they have a ton of talent leaving the roster. Quarterback Desmond Ritter's gone, Jerome Ford, Alec Pierce. Some of the guys on offense, Ahmad Gardner left. On defense, Kobe Bryant. So they definitely had a ton of talent leaving, but hopefully they got guys that'll step up and fill their positions. Hopefully, that's why I said that they play just like a well-oiled machine. You know, you got the next guy, he leaves, you got the next guy, and Luke Fickell's been a good coach so far at Cincinnati. So I definitely think they'll continue that. Not the level of success that they had last year, but finishing in the top 25 for a non-Power 5 team is good in my opinion. 22, I got the LSU Tigers. Definitely one of the more interesting storylines this offseason. Bringing in Brian Kelly, which was a big shocker to me. I wouldn't think he would leave Notre Dame that easily, but here he is at LSU. They got a big-time quarterback competition going on between Miles Brennan and Jaden Daniels. My prediction is Jaden Daniels enters as the week 1 starter, but I do think Miles Brennan has the potential, if he's struggling, to step in and steal that job right back. They got one of the best wide receivers in the country in Kayshon Boutte. They got a really good edge duo in BJ Ojolari and Ali Gay. So I'm really excited to see how this team plays. They should be an exciting team to watch this season. SEC is very tough this year, more than most. So I think they might struggle a little bit to start off SEC play. But I think once they start rolling as a team, then they'll start to produce. Next up at 21, I got the Michigan State Spartans. Definitely do not like this team, big time Michigan fan, but all bias aside, I do think they will have a drop off year to what they were last year. They lost Kenneth Walker, which was pretty much their whole team last year. Their defense really struggled last year, specifically their pass defense. They brought in a ton of transfers as usual for Mel Tucker. I don't think their running backs will be as good as last year. They got some dudes there. Jarek Broussard, transfer from Colorado, and Jalen Berger, transfer from Wisconsin. Both those guys aren't anything too special. They got Harold Joyner there and Elijah Collins, who produced not too long ago in 2019. He had a pretty productive role. You got a bunch of guys there. There's not really anybody that stands out for me, nor who I would project to have a Kenneth Walker type year. But they do have Peyton Thorne, coming back for another year as a quarterback. They got one of the best playmakers in college football in Jaden Reed. I do like Keon Coleman a lot too, a wide receiver. They got Trey Mosley. So they definitely got some weapons on offense, but I definitely think they'll take a big time step back from last year. Next up, we got the Miami Hurricanes. I'm pretty high on this team, higher than most people. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish within the top 20. They got a new head coach in Mario Cristobal, a new OC, and Josh Gaddis. And I really like the quarterback they got down there in Tyler Van Dyke. He's one of my guys I'm looking at in the 2023 NFL draft. When De'Ara King went down with injury last year, he really kind of stepped in and showed what he had. He had a big arm, showed that he can be accurate, stretch the field. He can scramble when need be. So I really like his potential there. I definitely do think he'll take the next step. So this should be a team that I'm looking to make a big jump into next season. Next up, we got the Ole Miss Rebels. The Ole Miss had a great year last year. Lane Kiffin has been an amazing coach for them so far. They've been pretty active in the transfer portal, bringing a stud running back in Zach Evans and bringing him a former 5-star quarterback, Jackson Dart from USC. They have a little bit of a quarterback competition going in there between Jackson Dart and Luke Altmaier, who's a sophomore quarterback who they had in their recruiting class the year before. I do think the job will go to Jackson Dart. They also got Michael Trigg, a transfer from USC. They got Jonathan Mingo there, wide receiver. They got a transfer in Jalen Robinson. So I do think this offense will be pretty good. It just depends on how this defense, if they can step up and answer the call in some of these SEC games. Other than that, I do think they'll be a top 20 team in 2022. Next up, we got the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas took a huge jump last year. They were really good under the quarterback leadership, KJ Jefferson. Really can scramble a ton, can stretch the field. He has got a big arm. And, they don't have Traylon Burks anymore, but I think that's okay. They brought in some guys, specifically Jaden Hazelwood from Oklahoma, former 5-star receiver, who I think can make that next jump to become a legitimate big-time wide receiver in college football. So I'm excited to see what this offense can do. If this defense can step up in this SEC place, kind of same thing I talked about Ole Miss. But I definitely think this team will be a top 20 team in college football next year. Next up, we got the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Team was a big surprise last year. Sam Hartman was lights out in ACC play. They got a stud receiver in A.T. Perry as well. They got Christian Turner, a former transfer running back from Michigan, out there. Their defense is not the best. Their offense was really having to score a ton of points to win games last season. But I definitely think this offense will keep it up at the same pace. Really, the big wild card is their defense, but their offense, make no mistake, that'll be one of the highest scoring offenses in college football next year. Next up, we got the NC State Wolfpack. I really like this team as a potential sleeper. They got a grad transfer wide receiver in Daryl Jones. Quarterback, they got Devin Leary, who was one of the best quarterbacks in college football last season. I think he will even make a bigger jump and could potentially be in the Heisman category if he does make that next jump. He's got all the talent in the world, so I'm definitely excited to see him play next year. Next up, I got the Texas Longhorns. And, man, this has been one of the teams that has absolutely taken advantage of this NIL kind of fiasco that's been going on in college football. They brought in Quinn Ewers, 5-star transfer from Ohio State, to compete kind of with Hudson Card for that starting quarterback position. They also got one of the best college football running back, in my opinion, in Bijan Robinson. Wide receivers, they got Xavier Worthy. They got a Wyoming receiver, was really good last year. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Let me know in the comments what his name is. For some reason, I'm forgetting it. But he was really productive at Wyoming last year. Defense, they got Demarion Overshone, who I'm definitely expecting a big year from. And they got some other dudes. So I definitely think this team could finish way higher than 15. For me, they got all the talent to do so. But it just comes down to, can Hudson Card or Quinn Ewers step in and really take this team to the next level. 14, I got the Wisconsin Badgers. And this is a team I'm super high on going into next year, specifically in Braylon Allen, who in my opinion is a top 5 running back in college football. Rushed for over 1,000 yards last year, and majority of his carries didn't even come in the second half of the year when Ches Mussolini went down with injury. Look unbelievable. He really looked like that Jonathan Taylor type running back, just bruising, and he's can turn on the Jets when need be. Watching him against Michigan, Ches Mussolini really got most of the carries that game, but when Braylon Allen was in, man, he took advantage of that. And so I'm excited to see what this offense can do. I definitely think that'll help Graham Mertz's play a lot. Down the season when Braylon Allen got a lot of those carries, you saw Graham Mertz start to play a little better, start to come into his own. So I think Graham Mertz will be play better, and overall the team impact will just under Braylon Allen will be way better. And pick at 13, I got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Really good year last year. Got to the Big 12 championship game under quarterback leadership of Spencer Sanders going into a senior year. They're losing Jalen Warren, a running back, but that's okay because they got another running back to come and step up. Rushed for 500 yards last year, too. So I'm not too worried about the run game. This defense, they got one of the best defensive ends, freshmen in the country last year, who put up double-digit sacks. So I'm super excited to see what this team can do going forward, and I don't expect a huge drop-off. My 12th team in the country I got is the Oregon Ducks. Again, they had some offseason drama with Cristobal leaving Miami, and they brought in the Georgia defense coordinator, Danny Manning, and they brought in Bo Nix, quarterback from Auburn, to compete with Ty Thompson for that starting quarterback role. They lost Travis Dye in the offseason, which was a big loss. Lost him to USC, kind of the interdivision rival. But their defense is really where it's at. They got a lot of guys there, specifically Noah Sewell, Justin Flo. So I'm super excited to see how the Oregon Ducks do under their first-year head coach. My 11th team in the country, I got the Oklahoma Sooners. Once again, I know I've been saying this a lot. Very dramatic offseason. They lost one of the best coaches in college football, Lincoln Riley, who went to the USC Trojans, who I'm going to talk about here in a bit. And they replaced him with Clemson defense coordinator Brett Venables. They brought in a new quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, with the loss of Caleb Williams to USC. But they still got so many playmakers on that offense. Eric Gray, running back, I absolutely love him. He's such a speedster, such a weapon out of the backfield. They still got Marvin Mims, one of the best college football receivers, Theo Weiss. So they got a ton of guys there as well. That defense is definitely questionable. Can they step up? But they're with Brett Venables coming over here. Always had a good defense at Clemson. I think he can coach some of these guys up. So I do think, if all goes right, they could be higher than 11, but just because they got a new guys in here, I don't think they'll be top 10. Number 10, though, I got the Baylor Bears kind of starting this top 10 list. They had an amazing year last year under Coach Dave Arianda, who's one of my favorite coaches in college football. They had quarterback, hold on, I'm going to pull his name up here. Quarterback Blake Shapen. Name was on the tip of my tongue, but he played amazing last year in the Big 12 championship game and in their bowl game. Was really efficient. 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. So I think he can step in and be very good for the Bears. They got running back Tay McWilliams, promised. Some people are saying he'll have a breakout year. So they definitely got a lot of guys on defense. Really with Dylan Doyle, he's one of the top Mike linebackers in the country. So I'm super excited what this team can do going forward. Number 9, I got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame, once again, dramatic offseason. They lost Brian Kelly to LSU and filling him in with Marcus Freeman, who has actually done way better recruiting-wise than Brian Kelly. They got the number 1 2024 and 2023 recruiting classes. But this team, offensively, I think will struggle a little bit. They don't really have that quarterback. They got Tyler Buchner, projected to start right there. I'm not too fond of him. They got Chris Tyree at running back, former top recruit, so I think he'll definitely do well there. But the defense is really where it's at. Isaiah Foskey's a stud. They brought in Northwestern transfer safety Brandon Joseph, who's a stud. So I definitely think this Notre Dame defense is where it's at, and I definitely think they'll be one of the top defenses in the country. My 8th team here, I got this, the USC Trojans. Definitely craziest offseason out of any college football team, landing the best wide receiver in college football last year, the Biletnikoff Award winner, Jordan Addison from Pitt. Definitely used that NAL and Lincoln Riley recruiting mixture to their advantage. They brought Caleb Williams over and wide receiver Mario Williams, who was Caleb Williams' go-to guy last year, both true freshmen at Oklahoma. and they brought in Travis Dye, running back from Oregon. So this offense, as long as the chemistry aligns, should be really good, one of the top in the country. And the defense is going to struggle a little bit. That's why I don't have them inside that top 5. But other than that, I think Lincoln Riley's first year as a USC head coach will be a top 10 finish. Pick 7, I got the Utah Utes. Have an even better year this year. They got running back Tavion Thomas coming back for his junior year. 1,000-yard rusher last year, one of the best running backs in college football. Cameron Rising played amazing for them last year. They got one of the best tight ends in college football. Brant Keith. So I'm super excited to see how this team plays. They were my favorite to win the Pac-12. I think they could potentially finish higher than 7 if everything goes right. My 6th team here, I got is Texas A&M. Definitely using the transfer portal and NAL to their advantage. One of the highest rated recruiting classes of all time. This past cycle, they brought in transfer quarterback Max Johnson to compete with Haynes King for that starting job. I do think it'll go to Max Johnson, who played really good for LSU last season. They got a ton of talent on that offense and defense, and we'll just see if Jimbo Fisher can put it all together. My 5th ranked team here, I got is the Clemson Tigers. I think their defense is going to be one of the best, if not the best defense in the country next year. Their defensive line is just stacked between Miles Murphy and Brian Brees. And they got some other guys there too who are really good. And then the offense, they got Will Shipley running back, and then quarterback. I mean, it all comes down to DJ Uiagalelei. Can he perform? He's going to have a lot of pressure on him because they do have one of the top quarterbacks in the country, Cade Klubnik, coming in. And Dabo Swinney, as we know, is not afraid to play that freshman, as we saw in Trevor Lawrence. So second DJ Uiagalelei slips up, I think they can put in Klubnik. My 4th ranked team is my Michigan Wolverines here. I know I might get some hate for them being in the top 4, but that doesn't matter for me. I do think that there's no excuses for them to be undefeated going into this Ohio State game at the end of the year. They do have some tricky games in their schedule. They got Penn State and Michigan State back-to-back weeks, and then they do have a night game at Iowa, but I think all 3 of those games are winnable. So I think if they are undefeated going to Ohio State and they end up losing, that ultimately mean that they don't go to the Big Ten championship game, but it can still put them into that 4 spot. And then I'm going to talk about them a little bit more because they are my favorite team. People are saying, "Oh, Hassan Haskins gone. You're not going to have the top guy." Well, at the beginning of the year, Blake Corum was the best running back on the team before he started going down with injury, and then Hassan Haskins started to get the majority of the carries. So I think Blake Corum's going to be a top 5 running back in college football, no doubt in my mind. And then they also got Donovan Edwards, 5-star running back, one of the best running backs Jim Harbaugh's ever had. So I think Edwards might surprise people too. He played amazing down the stretch last season too for Michigan's postseason run. And he might be even more talented than Blake Corum, and I wouldn't be surprised if he produces better. And then you see on my screen here, they got JJ McCarthy, who's one of the most talented quarterbacks in college football. I think if Jim Harbaugh does play McCarthy, then they could go back-to-back Big Ten championship appearances. McCarthy is one of the best quarterbacks I have seen Michigan have with my own eyes. He is the most talented quarterback Harbaugh's ever had. So I definitely think people are underrating McCarthy a little bit and the effect he'll have in this offense. The wide receiver room is one of the best in the country between Ronnie Bell, Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, A.J. Henning, Andre Anthony, Darius Clemens, Mike Sainristil. The list goes on. They got Eric All. They got the best offensive line in college football between Ryan Hayes, Trevor Keegan, Alu Oluwatimi, transfer from Virginia, Zach Zinter, and Trente Jones. This defense, I think it'll have a drop-off. They still got one of the best cornerbacks in college football, DJ Turner, and most likely Jamon Green's starting opposite him, and Mike Sainristil will be in the slot. Safety, you got RJ Moten, who played amazing last year, and Rod Moore. And then my number one breakout on this team is Mike Morris. I'm expecting a huge year from him. Maybe not Aiden Hutchinson numbers, but Aiden Hutchinson type leap into next year to just be that force on that defense. So I'm super excited to watch this Michigan team play, and I'm very hopeful for them this season. My number 3 team in the country I got is the Georgia Bulldogs, the reigning champions. I don't expect a ton of regression from this team. I do think they'll play maybe a little regression from the defense, but not from this offense. Stetson Bennett coming back, one of the big storylines of last year. They got the best tight end in college football in Brock Bowers, and they maybe got another top 5 tight end, Eric Gilbert. We'll see how this duo does. Super excited to watch this team play. Next up, the number 2 team in the country I got is the Ohio State football. They got CJ Stroud coming in at quarterback. I posted a tweet on my Twitter, so if you haven't followed my Twitter, follow it. Twitter is in the description below. But I stated on there that this team, this offense specifically, has potential to be just like the 2019 LSU offense. They got the best wide receiver in college football, Jackson Smith and Jigba, alongside Marvin Harrison, who broke out in that Rose Bowl game with 3 touchdowns. And then you'll have either Julian Fleming or Mika Azubuike being that third receiver in that offense. They got one of the best running backs in college football, Travion Henderson, and they got a very good offensive line. They brought in Oklahoma State's defense coordinator to come be their defense coordinator. So I think this team will be very good, and it pains me to say it as a Michigan fan, but this team is going to put up numbers. And then my number 1 team in the country, I don't think there's a big surprise here, is Alabama. Alabama, they just got so many guys coming back. They got Bryce Young. They got arguably the 2 best players in college football last season, and Will Anderson and Bryce Young coming back to their team. They got some talent wide receiver, bringing in Jermaine Burton from Georgia, who I like a ton. He's definitely going to put up numbers in this offense. On defense, they'll have the Dallas Turner, Will Anderson edge, who will be the best edge duo in college football next season, no doubt in my mind. They got Jordan Battle coming back, Kool-Aid McKinstry at DB. Man, this team's going to be special. That kind of wraps up my video for today. Let me know in the comments if your favorite team wasn't on here and why they deserve to be on here and where you kind of think they'll finish. What teams you think I did too high, just let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you did enjoy this video, it'll make it spread to other people who do enjoy this content as well. Make sure to follow Instagram and Twitter in the description to see more updates daily, and we'll see you in the next video.